Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our monthly meeting. Hope you all drove safely. I know if you're like me, I'm about tired of seeing snow on the ground, but I think it's going to be with us for a while. I think I'm looking forward to the warmer weather the next couple of days, but it's still probably going to be a little sloppy out there. So welcome to all of you. Welcome to all of you that are online. Appreciate you joining us, whether it's on YouTube or Facebook. I wanted to reach out. Do we have any first-time visitors tonight? Wanted to welcome. Wow, great. Glad to have you all. I hope you enjoy it, and if you have any questions, we got a lot of people. And do we have any first-time new members? Any people here that are members? Great, awesome. I'm sure you've had the chance to meet Carol. Carol has been amazing at helping us get the word out to the community and getting new people involved. So thank you all for joining the guild, and I hope it's a great thing for you, and hopefully you'll be up here teaching us here shortly. What we do now is, you all know I like to run through these meetings pretty fast. We go through a short business meeting, and then we'll do show and tell. And we have an excellent program tonight done by David Roth, who's running around. David's been a long time member. He's going to walk through how to do marquetry, which is putting small pieces of wood into patterns and making amazing scenes and sand shading, and it's really going to be great. So we're looking forward to that. So I don't have anything special to report except it's nice to see everybody. Ron Hall, do you have anything to report tonight? Nothing. David, anything special? Treasurer John, do you have anything other than last year was I will say thank you to all of you involved in the guild, because last year we took the leap of faith and we came to this location, which, as you all know, was quite a bit nicer facility than we had. It also was a lot more expensive, which you all know, where membership dues went up and everyone stuck with us, and we had a solid year financially. So I'd say thank you to everybody who helped us do that. With the cost of getting this building up and running, we were nervous. We wanted to steward the funds that everyone helps us through community projects, through dues. We wanted to be good stewards. So we had an excellent year, and we kind of broke even for the year, which is pretty amazing. Craig, I know you wanted to come up and talk specifically about our upcoming elections.
All right. Hi, I'm Craig Arnold. I'm the member at large, which is the title they give to former presidents of the guild when they don't want to lose the institutional knowledge. So that's what you have to look forward to. In April, we will have our elections for half of our board, or approximately half of our board, and about half of our leadership committee. The two board positions that are up for vote is treasurer and secretary. Both David Roth as secretary and John Stayer as treasurer have indicated that they'd like to stay on, but we still will accept nominations. In the leadership committee, programs, events, assets, and sponsorship are all up for election. I know the programs is open right now. I'm not sure about events. I know Chuck Saunders is our assets director. He has indicated he will stay on, as well as Dwayne over here, who looks like he's grieving right now. He has indicated too. No, I'll just speak louder. How's that? He's also indicated that he will stay on. If you are interested in serving the guild, We don't get paid. It's truly all glory that you get. A lot of laughter. We would like to see new people come in, particularly if you're not sure if you want to do something, if there's an area that you'd like to try out. All of these members that serve are looking for assistance. Come in, work 3 or 4 months. Hey, this is something I could do. Offer to be assistant for the 2-year term, and when that term is up, then you can step into the role with a lot of experience on how to do these particular things. So even if you don't want to run now, consider being an assistant. We're always looking for people to help those who do these things. I know Matt would be one that would, as a programs director, he was always looking for something, so trying to, was. So, but if you're interested to see me, Tim Locke is in Florida right now. He's also a former board member. And who else is the other? Ron Hall. Where's Ron? He's around here somewhere. We are the nominating committee. Contact us. We'll be glad to talk with you. All right.
Thank you, Craig. And I wanted to also, I think I mentioned this last year, but yes, we do serve on the board, but we absolutely, it's not a closed system. We're looking for anyone that wants to get involved. Absolutely looking for names if you're interested in becoming part of the official leadership. I think there's so many people that lead in their own ways as it is, but the elections are absolutely open. So if you're interested at all, let the nominating committee know. As far as assets, Chuck, I know that we're selling wood over there, so if you're wanting some wood for your projects, go over and see Chuck. Any other special announcements, Chuck? Oh, nothing now. Communications, Brian here? Haven't seen Brian, so we'll. He is here. Anything special, Brian? If I don't see you. Nothing special. Okay. As far as the newsletter, great job again with the newsletter team with Ron and Steve, and so thank you for all who submitted articles. And if you are working on something or you go somewhere and you take pictures, we'd love to see you write an article or let us know what you've got and put it in the newsletter. It's always fun to see the different things that people are working on, or if you go to a historic site or a woodworker in California, it's really cool to see what people are involved in, and other locations, not just California. Didn't see Don Steele tonight, so I don't know if we're selling magazines or not for the library tonight, but typically we are. And if you're looking for magazines, I think we could help you out. As far as social media, we want to encourage people to go to our Facebook page. We also have a Facebook group, and there's lots of good interaction with the community. We have an Instagram page. I know that some people post their work, tag the guild. It's always nice to see what people are working on. I know that I do try to do that, and definitely check out our YouTube channel. We're up to 510 subscribers now, so I don't know what type of goodies, Chris, we get at 500, but I guess we've unlocked some features. So if you haven't checked out our YouTube channel, please do. And if you're not a subscriber, please do. So let's keep that going. Chris, do you have any announcements as far as AV or events or anything like that? Or we got a quick meeting tonight. Carol, do you want to come talk about membership? Come on up.
We do kind of match. We didn't even talk about it first either. I want to thank everybody that's renewed already. Thank you so much. We really are looking forward to this year with you. But if you haven't renewed, come renew, please. We are now 890 members.
When's the discount run out?
The discount runs out at the end of the month. Thank you for saying that. I kind of went down a rabbit hole to figure out how many men and how many women are in the club, and I came up with some pretty interesting numbers. This was a few weeks ago, so this has changed a little bit, but we have 787 men and 104 women. I thought that was pretty good. The 2025 membership cards, as of right now, we are current. So if you haven't pictures up, it's in the box. I have started something new called the Ambassadors Program. And I've heard this from a lot of people that start here, and they struggle a little bit because there's so much going on here. There's so many different things to do, and it takes a while to get organized and figure out how to get through here. So we're going to start a new program called the Ambassadors Club. And we've got an email. If you have a question, if you're new, or even if you're not new and you don't know the answer to something, send it to us. If we don't know, we'll go find out for you and help you navigate how to get through the guild faster to get to your goals and be a club member. I think there's about 6 of us now. I see Terry and me. We all have our blue badges. That's how you'll be able to see us in the shop. But our goal is to help you be happier and more successful here in the club. The community board, I've talked about that a little bit, and that is now up in the kitchen. That's for you guys. If you have something you need, or if you're selling something, or if you need help getting something from one point to another and you're looking for some extra pair of hands, whatever you want to put on that board, that's for you guys. Ron, did you talk about a firm? Did you talk about a firm? Not yet? Don't talk about it yet. Okay, never mind. The rerun of the badges has begun. So I have run the board, and I have run the foremans, and next I'm going to start on the green cards. So there's some pretty dilapidated green cards up there, and I'm going to fix those for you. So I'm going to go through those in chunks. So it'll take a little while, but I'll start by letters, you know, A, B, and C. But I'll get to you, and you'll have a good, fresh badge for 2025. That's it. Thank you.
Question from the back. So the question was, how can one become an ambassador? So I think the answer is get a hold of Carol.
Yeah, if you want to become an ambassador, talk to me, talk to Terry, talk to anybody who is a current ambassador. I listed them in the newsletter. Thank you. But the email, the ambassador email, is in there as well. Okay, that would be awesome. Thank you.
And yeah, if you haven't renewed, please do so. And if you all know, there's a discount if you renew before February 1. So take a look at that. If you want a few dollars off, there's your chance. So programs, Matt, we talked about today's. David, you want to come up and say some things about programs?
Yeah, in general, we have a great program tonight, absolutely for certain. I don't have a program yet for the next month. I'm still working on it. And I am pulling out of the programs as programs director. I've done it for maybe 12 years or more. I think it's time for someone else to take over. So it's a great opportunity. It's really cool when you send emails out. You sign it as programs director, KCWG. It gives you great street cred. Yeah, right. It really helps you get more people in. But just a little bit of extra information. My son lives in Portland, and he wants to do some woodworking. So I told him, yeah, look up your local guild or shop out there. He did. It's $600 for 6 months. We get a deal. It's only $900 for the whole year. It costs $15 an hour for when you do come in to use it. It costs $200 to take the safety test. And each of the areas that require certification, like we have certification, special certification on the laser and on the CNC, each one of those that they have costs extra money. So for what we charge and what we get here, that's crazy, crazy cheap. If you're doing woodworking, you're not a member of this organization, there's something wrong with it. Tell your friends this place is here because it's nuts.
Yeah, we have a great deal going here, and that's why we're happy with. You all know that. That's why you're here. So, thank you for being here. Safety, Steve. I know you wanted to come give a brief update.
Thanks, Cal. I don't love doing or sharing the message that I want to share. Many of you have probably heard about this, but I did think it was worth making a preliminary announcement about something that occurred. So at the end of December, we had a severe accident to one of our new members. The long and short of that is that he was in here and he was running a workpiece through the large grizzly joiner on the back side of the shop. Now this particular workpiece was, I'd never heard this term before, but it was a cookie. Everybody know what a cookie is? Slice of a tree trunk. And it was elliptical in shape. If you look at it, on the face, looked almost football-like, about 22 and a half or 22 and a quarter inches long, 13 and 3/8, almost 13 and a half inches at the widest part. So an irregular shape, right? And claims and stated that he had a push block that he was using in his right hand and another push pad or push stick of some sort in his left hand. But there are some gaps in what we know about exactly what happened. Nobody saw the accident, or nobody was working with him at the time. He was in the shop, backside of the shop, alone. And as is fairly common, he didn't remember all of the exact details just because of the way the mind works with some trauma like that, right before he actually got injured. But we surmise there's 2 or 3 different scenarios that we think may have happened. But essentially, the leading scenario is that he somehow lost control of this workpiece and then trying to run it, both control it and then run it through the joiner. He ended up contacting on his left hand his middle finger and ring finger on the tips. So fairly severe accident. Much better than it might have been otherwise, okay? He ended up on the middle finger, chipping the end of the bone on that finger, and you had to have sutures. And because of chipping the bone, that is classified as a partial amputation. So we take that, of course, any kind of contact with machine danger zone, point of operation hazard like that. In this case, an elliptical cutter, high RPM, is very, very serious, right? So, so having analyzed we've interviewed him, analyzed all of the factors going into this particular incident, we realized that there were some issues with push blocks and push sticks, design and how in what shape they were in, as well as issues perhaps with his work practice, actually what he was doing and how he was doing it. But a major contributor was the fact that he was actually running a cookie through the joiner. And anyone who's been around here for any length of time, I hear from them anecdotally. They're like, anyone that does that is really kind of like out of their mind. So we also realized that our safety rule, which does speak to this, is not as clear specifically around this particular type of workpiece as it could be. So we're going to really work to upgrade that and make it very, very clear. I wanted to simply say to everybody that there is a high likelihood, as we've looked at, he claimed or he stated that another member, he asked them about that, and they said, oh yeah, you can run that through the large joiner. I've done that before. So we have members here who are not clear on whether or not you can run that kind of workpiece through there. Now, a cookie like that or the slice of a tree is, I don't really work with that kind of thing, so I don't think in this term, but it's entirely end grain. Entirely end grain. So that's what we want to clarify and upgrade our rules so that it's very clear that that is prohibited. So there's a very high likelihood that we will prohibit anything like that, any kind of end grain cutting board, a cookie, running it through any of our joiners, and also the thickness planer, same kind of thing. There are two reasons for this. One is we feel like that with the irregular edge, they can't reference it against the vertical fence, hard to control it. In testing it out, when we were there and interviewed him, I was able to twist and turn that, so we think that he lost control that way. The other thing of it is, and I was completely unaware of this, is that members of the safety committee and members of the board are familiar with the fact that pieces like that have actually come apart as you're running it through the joiner, or quote exploded unquote, which is never a good thing, right? So something like that happens to the workpiece, you have your hands, or even with push blocks and push pads, right over the cutter. Not a good thing. So high likelihood around that. You'll probably hear more about that. Our challenge, of course, is to try to be able to communicate that so that all 890 members understand that that is not something that we should do. So the only reason we're not quite there yet is we need to review the findings of our investigation with all the safety committee members, and then talk about some of the follow-up in terms of corrective action and making it a lot less likely that anything like that will ever occur in the future. So, thank you. Sorry again for bringing that message, but thought it was important to take this opportunity.
Thanks, Steve. And I think that regardless of the exact nature of this accident, it's always good for us to get the word out that things do happen. That way maybe next time you hear that small voice saying, should I do this, should I not? It makes us think a little bit, whether you're in your own shop or in our shop. It's always good to step back and analyze, is it safe? Get a hold of a forum, and let's make sure that we're being as diligent as we possibly can. None of us want to hurt ourselves, lose a finger, or worse. So appreciate Steve giving us an update, and we don't want anyone to get hurt here at the Guild, that's for sure. Going down the list, the next is Rough to Ready. There are lots of classes available. That's run by John Sloss and several other volunteers. Sponsorship, we've got great items down for a raffle. We've got the special raffle for the router table. So come on down and check that out and buy the raffle tickets. You get some great deals, and you know David Roth is not going to win every single one of those. So there's some chances. There's a few chances. Training, Rich is not here tonight, but Rich did want me to give an update. Let me check my text real quick. Looks like I erased it, maybe. Well, let me see if he's...
Cal, it's on your...
Yeah, it's on the update. Thank you, Chris. So what we've been trying to do is let everyone know when classes get released. That way you can be ready. Because sometimes the classes go quickly and it's frustrating. So since you're here, you get to hear this. The classes that are coming out, February 15th, there's Introduction to Scroll Saw. That releases on 1/21. And is that taught by you, George? All right. On March 9th, there's a class on beginning wood inlay, and that releases February 4th. And is that taught by you, Wayne? Man, that's some high-powered people sitting over there. So on March 11th, 12th, and 13th, there's going to be project finishing. That releases on February 11th, and that's taught by you, Craig, correct? So those are all kind of staple classes that are also very popular. So if you're interested, take a look. And if you want to come up and clarify when those release, you can come up and take a look at this at the break, in case I went too quickly. But the Skill Builder's coming up February 1st. We had a program a few months ago by William Fehrenbach, Joinery by Hand. He's got the Sugita method, which is the Japanese joinery. And so he's going to be doing that on February 1st. On March 1st, Tom Vici is going to do a demonstration on building a wooden mug, which is very cool. And then April 5th, we have slab flattening with a router, which is a very cool skill, especially with like irregular pieces or epoxy tables, that type of thing. Or cookies, yeah. That's a good way to flatten a cookie. Yeah, better than using a joiner, absolutely. So those are some good programs. So the SIGs, now kind of the last section of our agenda, the special interest groups, which we call SIGs. So on January 26th is the next Hand Tools SIG. Hand Tools SIG meets every fourth Sunday of the month, so that's on January 26th. Anything special, Wayne? So using a scraper, sharpening a scraper, that's definitely an acquired skill. So if you ever struggled with a scraper, that's a good one to check out. Wood carvers meet on January 28th, and they always meet the fourth Tuesday of the month from 6 to 8. That's led by Jim Brock and Dan Rubidoux. I always say what you say, especially bring anything you want to carve. Do you have any special? We are there to help carve and techniques. So anything to help carve, whether it's power carving, folk carving, knife carving, chip carving, traditional carving, that's the place to be to come check it out. Pyrography. Okay. Good place to come if you're interested in carving. Laser Engravers, led by Curtis Alexander, is January 22nd, and that's also a good time. Craig? Inlay. So we're working on inlay with the laser on that one. Okay, and that's January 22nd, and that's always a good time to come if you want to get certified. Typically that can be done at the end of that meeting. To use the laser engraver, you have to have a special certification to be allowed to do that, because I wouldn't know how to even turn it on. So if I were to use it, I would need to come to the SIG. CNC SIG, the next meeting is January 20th. That's led by Gary Melke and Ed Stewart. I thought I saw Ed here tonight, right there. So third Monday of the month. The next one is January 20th. Any special topics?
We're going to be talking about V-carve inlays.
So talking about V-carve inlays. Okay, using the CNC to make a seamless inlay. So laser inlay and CNC inlay and hand tool inlay. So it seems like an inlay kind of night. I think that's it, and we're gonna go quickly into show and tell. So Jim, come on up. If you've got a show and tell item, which we got, looks like we got some great items. Come on up and kind of get in the queue to come up and show your work. Thank you all for bringing those in.
Thank you. So I got to tell you a story before I start. Back in 1998, I was a volunteer for Habitat for Humanity, and I went on a build in Houston, and there were 7,000 volunteers on this project, and we built 100 houses in a week. And it was led by Jimmy Carter. So I went down and I stayed in the dormitory at Rice University. And the first morning, I was in the cafeteria having breakfast, and I hear from behind me, it said, mind if I join you? And I turned around, and it was Jimmy Carter. And so just the two of us were having breakfast for about 15 minutes before anybody else joined us, and we talked about woodworking. I asked him what he was working on in his shop, and he said, I'm making collection plates for the church that he tended. And later on, I saw that article in, I think it was Wood Magazine, where he finished them. And he was telling me that when he left the White House, his staff gave him a complete shop of woodworking tools. And I asked him, what kind? And he said, well, Sears. Which, anyway, yeah, I was watching the funeral the other day, and they were telling of all the accomplishments, all the things that he delved into, like fishing and other things. And one of the items was he was a woodworker, and I'll always remember that story. The other thing I remember was during that build, he came into my house all by himself. His Secret Service people weren't around or anything. He just came in, and he was looking for extra help because there were some houses that needed to catch up. And he walked up to me and said, hey, Jim, I need some help. And I'm going, he remembered me from the other day. I should have been on his cabinet. Anyway, yeah, it was one of the things I'll always remember for the rest of my life is meeting Jimmy Carter. Yeah. Okay, so let's get started. Who wants to come first? Sure.
You want me to put them right here?
Sure. They show up. So you've been working on the lathe?
I have. I've been working on the lathe, and I was showing some of my friends out here in the flatwood shop what I was doing. They said, well, bring it in.
Flatwood shop, that's good.
The flat one, yeah. This is the flatwood shop.
Like
That's the round one.
Flatlanders?
Maybe.
Yeah, all
At least it's not The Landman, you know. You ever watched that series?
No.
Oh, it's funny. And I've been teased ever since I started doing the lathe because all you do is make things round there and you don't need to measure, you just put it on there. I mean, that's what I've been told. So I want to share with you how I use the flatwood shop to make these items and tell you about what I've started with. I'm going to start with this one first because this is a combination of using the drill press. First I made a 3x3 square of oak. Then I cut it down to 3 inches long. And then I drilled it twice with I drilled it several times, but twice on each side with the Forster bit. Forstner.
Yes.
Good, please help me with words because I'm not good with words. Okay.
Don't ask me to spell it.
Oh, I could spell it better than I could.
I kept calling my wife Sweaty instead of Sweetie.
Oh. And I thought I had problems with words. So, and then the CNC made all the little snowflakes for me. I think it was CNC. Someone else did it for me. And I laid them in there and glued them. And then I took it back to the lathe and I started turning it. And I had the option of turning it totally round or just taking the corners off. And so I took the corners off of this because I really liked the way it looked here. Okay. I made 2 already, and I have 3 in the works. But I had to use all the shops, or almost all the shops.
Terry, can you turn that flat so I can see it?
That work? Okay. What else? Okay, all right. So I made some of those, did not give any of those for Christmas. Did not make enough. I have 9 relatives that I need to make, so okay. So last year I tried inside outside. And inside outside is a technique for making ornaments with the lathe. And again, you need to have the flat wood shop before you can do anything with the round wood shop. So the flat wood, they take 4 milled pieces of wood, and then for the first time you turn it, because you finish it twice and you turn it twice. First time you turn it, you have the 4 pieces of wood glued only at the top with a piece of paper in between because you're going to take it apart and that paper makes it easier. And then you and I mark it. Let's see. Can you see the markings on that?
Move it over. Yeah, there you go.
Okay. You mark it so where it's going to be right now, and I mark a square how I want it before I turn it. Then I put arrows on it where I want the points to come in, because I'm going to take those arrows after I turn the inside. I'll turn a hole in the side here, and almost halfway through. Then I'll break this apart and turn it. All those corners that I have arrows I have on there are now going to be in the middle. And you're going to have a piece of long wood with holes in it. And this one's partly turned the second time. What do you want me to do? Okay. Okay. So I turn it partly the second time.
The other way.
Okay. And you have these holes in it showing, so you know where the first turning was. Now you've had to totally finish the inside. Glue this one, the 4 pieces together, and then you have these holes showing where you've already turned a little bit. And you take the wood off around there, and it gets fairly thin, and you have to really focus on that.
I think we got a skill builder class here.
Anyone want?
You're getting way too detailed, or nobody's ever going to remember it.
Oh,
you
okay.
know, so,
All right, I'll go to fast forward.
okay.
So I made these for my Christmas gifts for my family. They're all small. They're all have different endings and tops on them. But I'm not someone who just does something. My mind starts going, okay, what else can I do? What else can I do? What else can I do? So I took 4 bigger pieces and I carved. The inside was not just a clean cut. I cut it in several areas, so it's kind of square here, and it goes around here, and another round here, and turned it, and then I finished the inside, turned it around, glued it together, finished the outside, and I brought it to the Turner's Guild, and some people said they never had seen it done this way before. It was always very clean, not wavy like this. So I thought maybe you guys might be interested in that. And this is something I plan on refinishing. This is a bigger ornament, inside outside. And I finished it with the red on the inside and glued the beautiful little plastic sequins in there. And when I turned it, it filled with dust. So I haven't been able to get all the dust out yet. But it is now finished, and maybe my family will get bigger ornaments next year. I don't know.
So would you be willing to do a skill builder class?
Do we have enough lathe people? Because they have to use the lathe.
Sure.
Okay, I'll do
Okay.
it.
Well, we can go back and borrow the,
Borrow those things? Yeah, maybe I need Anthony to help me.
okay. Okay, so
Ask his permission.
what did you finish these with?
These are poly. I think I used all poly on these because I was trying to get them done very quickly. So yeah, poly.
Water-based poly?
Yes.
Okay. Very good. Any questions? That's really intriguing. I've not seen that.
I used a rag. And for this one, I used a rag. And if I had it on, like I had this one on my lathe at home, I can apply it while I'm working. Here I don't take the time to do that.
Okay. Any other questions? That's really intriguing. Thank you. Who's next? Hi, Doug. Here you go.
Thank you. I made another tray, and with the inlay, it has a mahogany, tiger wood, walnut, and maple. And I'm making a desk and a live edge desk and a live edge printer table, and I'm going to use this inlay on the panels. so I wanted to practice. That's
Okay.
where this idea came from. And it's just has poly on it. And everybody asks me how I do those inlays when I come in the shop. So I brought the templates. They have templates that 1 through 6. So I believe that's 6 pieces that you go through, and they're all numbered. So as long as you can count, it should work. I've messed up enough of them though.
Okay, so you do this in sequence of from top to bottom?
That's correct. So here's the, like this one says number 1 and number 6. So you got to do number 1. You just have to get them laid out, and I do a plunge router.
Okay.
And first you have to cut the pieces. So you take the router, it's an 1/8 inch router bit, goes in, cuts out the pieces, and that's the hard part because you have to stay against the edge. If you go in, you ruined your piece, you have to do another one. And then once you have the pieces cut, then you go over here and you get this all laid out flat, and then make sure that's down and secure it. And I put more of these. I have other templates like this, and I just put them around it, and that's puts
Did
it
you use double-sided tape for that?
Yes,
Okay.
double-sided tape. That's correct. And then have that exactly. So these all are exactly the same size. So they just go over each other, and they end up like
So
that.
you essentially could make these as well if you wanted to. You
Yeah,
don't, you purchase these?
Yes,
Okay, but you could make them.
I couldn't because I wouldn't be that precise. I bet there's a way you could do it. Yes.
All right.
Yeah, and everything. So that'd be fun to learn how to do that. But anyway,
Where's Ed?
Ed.
Ed, could you make them on the CNC machine? Yes. Okay. There you go.
Okay.
Save you some money.
Yeah.
Get to know Ed.
Yeah. Hey, Ed. But anyway, that's what I did, and then it has poly on it, and
Okay.
everything. So.
And okay, so you're going to use this on as a
My
accessory
wife
on your
is-
desk?
My wife has taken over that, but
Oh,
she's
okay.
using it.
She serve you drinks on it?
No, just that's in the
need
breakfast room and has her things on it.
Okay. So your next project is a live edge desk, and
I'm in process of doing that now.
okay, and
a
you're
print-
making it
actually
out of the
a
same
printer
material.
table. It'll be no, it won't be mahogany. It'll be the panels are walnut, and it has a white maple trim around it, and that'll be in the center.
Okay.
On the sides, it's like a cabinet.
Is this a
Those are the
slab?
sides.
Slab desk?
It's like the panels of a like a
Oh, okay.
shaker, like a shaker cabinet,
All right.
and they'll be like
You
that.
going to bring that in when you're done with it? Show and
Well,
tell?
I don't know. That's pretty big. I'll try.
It'll help you.
Somebody muscles can help me. I'll do it.
Okay. The other thing you could do, if it's a project that, if you can record it, we can put it on, do it
Okay.
on the screen. You can
Okay.
go through it.
Sure. Glad
Yeah.
to share.
As well as anybody else, we can all do that for
Yeah.
show and tell.
If anyone knows how to do corners, I struggled with this. These corners I kind of cut out on my scroll saw. On my bandsaw, and then I used the spindle sanders.
On the
get-
outside
Both
or on the inside?
inside and out. So there's probably a better way to do that.
Yeah, there is.
I don't know
Back
how to
in
do.
the shop back here, we've got an edge sander.
Mhm.
And I have one in my shop, and I use it all the time for outside corners,
Yeah.
and it's real accurate and quick.
Yeah, I got it finally pretty nice, but it's not perfect.
Looks good,
That
though.
was- that
That-
was
that's
the,
hard to do with a spindle
that,
shape.
That was hard, yeah.
All right. Any questions? Thanks for bringing this in. That's awesome. Who's next? Use this one. Yeah, there you go.
Use this one. This is a bird.
That came from him over there.
That bird is called a cedar waxwing, If you look at the rump of it, you see some little red marks that look like I screwed up. I probably did, but the characteristic of that bird is that the shafts on the feathers, particularly the secondary feathers, have wax on the shaft, and they're red. And so that's why it's called a cedar waxwing, because of the wax. That bird taken me about 10 months. You're going to ask me anyway, so I figured I'd try it.
How long did it take you?
Huh? How long did it take me?
Yeah.
Well, I'm probably still working on it. That's one of the problems.
Did you do this branch thing?
Yeah, I sculpted that.
I've never seen a branch like that. I've seen
Well,
something
hell,
like that on the
I
head of an
haven't either,
antler.
but the bird was looking at it, so
Okay.
you know, that came from a hunk of, well, actually laminated 6 by 6 by 12 hunk of butternut, and then I sculpted it.
Boy, there's a lot of chips if that's a 6 by 6.
Well, actually, when you use a grinder, it makes a hell of a mess.
I
too.
bet.
So
what kind of finishes did you put on this?
the finish on the bird is just oil paint. It's a Tupelo is the wood, and the only thing that's not wood is the glass eyes, okay? The sculpted mounting there is butternut again, and it's really finished with acrylic paint. Got 3 different colors of acrylic paint to get it to look like that.
How many birds have you done? You're getting quite a collection, aren't you?
A few. I mean, what the hell? It's substitute for Prozac. So I'm in no hurry, and it keeps me away from my wife. So
okay, I won't
that's
go there.
it.
Anybody have any questions about this? To ask for Ron?
No.
Thanks, Ron. That's awesome. So tell us about this box.
I will. Is that on?
Yep.
Okay. So 22 months ago, I had a granddaughter. 15 months ago, we had a sycamore tree at the lake. Lose a big branch. Talked about with some people here. About 60 feet long, about yay big around. I'm cutting it up, thinking this is beautiful wood. This is free. I could make something out of that. So brought it home, cut it up, brought it home, and decided to make a bunch of blocks for the granddaughter. And once you make the blocks, and you say, well, I could make a box. So put a box to go with it, which I did laser mark the bottom of it. I don't know if you can see that or not. Somewhere down there it says, Block Box by Bob, 2024. The box, because we're mostly cheap, because the blocks were free, the wood was free. So about 7 years ago, we took out some of the hardwood floor in our house that went from the front door to the kitchen, because it's only 4 foot wide. My wife decided to hardwood the whole thing before we put carpet over that, or area rug over that. Anyway, they were going to throw that away, all the white oak. And I'm like, no, you're not. I already paid for that once. So the box is made out of the oak that my daughter used to run across because she was born in that house. So plane it down, rip it down, glue it up, make a box, do the box joints.
So what did you use to mill this down to, what's this, about 3/8 of it?
It is 3/8. I used my planer at home.
Okay.
Yeah. I did use some of the shop tools here to get it, to do the rough to ready, because I got a little 6-inch joiner and a little 10-inch bandsaw, so I had to use the big boy tools down here.
And what process do you use to put the box joints in?
I used the dado blade on the table saw and made my own little fence with the
Your own
key.
jig? Okay.
Yeah. and then cut them all off and redid it because I
Yeah.
had a couple mistakes, a
Been
couple
there.
learning opportunities. So it got a little smaller, but it was fine. Then I made a little template to do the handles because I got tired of doing those the old way.
So, did you have to make any adjustments in your box joints because of the length of it?
That was the hard part. Yeah, it took a little bit of setup time, but once I got it set up, it went good. I was actually surprised. It went pretty smooth.
Okay, so when you glued it together, how did you keep it square? Or is it not square?
It's square.
Okay.
Don't check it. I did put painter's tape everywhere on the joints to keep the tape out inside and out. I mean, to keep the glue from getting out. Made blocks, did a double face tape on all corners so I could clamp it. And then I had some squares that I put in there. The plywood in the bottom keeps it pretty square.
So when you glued it up, did you glue all four sides up at the same time?
Yeah.
That's a little difficult, isn't it?
So this is my first experience with hide glue. So I
So you got some more
tried
setup
that.
time.
Get more setup time. I guess it could come apart if it gets wet or hot. I don't know. I don't think she'll put it in the oven or dishwasher or anything. So, so yeah, was 11 different kind of blocks. I did put the penny in the bottom of one of them. I like to do that. Sycamore I've never dealt with before. It's really cool wood. Remarkably light and remarkably hard. I was mop sanding these on a drill press, and yes, a few of them got launched out of my hand across the shop. If I do that with pine, it's terrible. Yeah, they're kind of ruined. This stuff is like, do it again. I don't care. I mean, it's really. Of course, the first thing she did is dump them all out and throw them around the room. So that was good.
So how did you make the cross cut in this?
Dado blade.
Oh, okay. So you just turned it around? Okay.
And I started with a long piece. So one of the things you do learn down here is safety, right? So I got a little more concerned at home about safety.
Good.
So, and some of these pieces, like the triangle, I have a sled that I use and clamp it all up, the pencil trick to hold it down. Yeah, so I did it on end with longer pieces, clamped up against the miter, auxiliary fence on the miter gauge.
And you did these back with
With my scroll saw, so that was the gift tag. So Steve Good, Rex will know Steve Good, has gift tags. I just looked up. There was a snowman that I decided to make that for the granddaughter. Like, why not just finish this project off with handmade stuff? So then I made the other 10 that was in the pattern. So one of them was a snowflake. I did a good enough job cutting it that the snowflake itself came out really good. So I couldn't throw it away because it looked pretty good. So I told my wife, I don't know, that's pretty good. What should I do with it? She goes, well, take a blank one and glue it on there. So that became her favorite one. So that actually came out pretty good.
So you're not like Ron, you're not staying away from your wife.
No, not yet. Not yet.
Okay, yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and these, you're going to ask about the finish, right? Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Matt.
What's the finish?
Okay. So this is a wipe-on poly with a dye in it. So it's like a toner. So it's not cheap. It's $53 for the 3 primary colors. I mixed the secondary colors because I was cheap, and I'd already spent $53 plus a spoke shave on this free wood.
Okay. Have you ever considered using quarter sawn sycamore?
Well, some of it is because there's 128 blocks, but there's 225 more in my shop because I didn't know, so I just kept making them. So there's another 128 that look just like these that haven't been finished yet, and some of them are kind of quarter sawn where it looks like kind of like that.
Yeah.
And it is gorgeous.
Yeah, it really is.
So I was going to stain these or just finish them with a clear.
Good. Any questions about?
And that has a Danish oil, natural Danish oil, then a wipe-on poly oil-based, and then Minwax wax on top of it.
Any questions about this box project? Thanks.
thing she did was take one of these and put it in her mouth. I was like, all right, you don't get the smaller piece. Then she wanted to stand in the box.
Right there.
This is one of 2 speaker stands that I built for a friend. And I built him some 3 years ago out of beautiful maple, and he, in his wisdom, painted them black. So I told him I wasn't going to finish this one. He can do what he wants to with it. It's made out of oak. The interesting part was this piece of wood is doweled together and glued, but it was some wood that I was given, and when I cut into it, trying to cut it down to size, there were all kinds of splits going this direction in it. So I kept sanding it on the wide belt sander till it got a little thinner than I really wanted. So to cover up the splits, I breadboarded the end of the top. The slots and the dowels, I have a little mortising jig I built for my table saw that's adjustable. And so I clamped 2 of them together with blue tape and cut one slot and then cut a plug to go down in it so that it would keep them square, and then flipped them and cut the other end so that
I was going to ask you how you did that. That looks so. Did you turn these or?
No. These came from Metro Hardwood.
Okay.
They're 1 3/4 oak dowels. Another thing that I did that was kind of interesting is that on the cross member, when I mortised and tendoning, this tendon is 1/8 of an inch smaller than the 3/4 inch board. So using my little fixture, I was able to cut a 1/16 of an inch reveal on each side. So when I clamped it to drill the dowel holes, it was tied up against that surface. And so I clamped it real tight, drilled and put the dowels in, and they've held really well, I think.
So how did you fasten the top to these rails?
There's 2 screws going up.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And the same way on the base.
Okay.
From the bottom up.
Okay.
And I think it'll finish up real pretty as long as he doesn't paint it.
Okay. I was going to ask you what color paint he's going to use.
I don't know. He's told me that he's going to try and match the speakers, which look like they're a light oak finish. So we'll see.
Okay.
But that's out of my hands.
Okay. So is this one of more than you're going to make 2?
I made 2.
Okay. This is just one that
I didn't figure I needed to bring them both.
Okay. You should have. We could have criticized both of them.
Oh, yeah. Well, I see the errors.
Yeah. I appreciate that. You always do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any questions about the speaker stands? That's an interesting joint. I really like that.
It was fun.
Yeah.
Okay right there?
Yeah, that works really well.
Okay.
So tell us about this toolbox.
This is a hand tool chest from a set of plans that I had sitting around for several years at home, and had decided it was going to be one of those days I'm going to build this, but I wasn't sure when. And then I just decided one day that I didn't have enough stress when I was in my shop, so I was going to build it as much as I could with hand tools. I'd been had all the electrical tools for a number of years, but I'd been moving more and more into hand tools, and so except for the thicknessing of this wood, just about everything else has been done with planes and chisels and hand saws. I did get a little impatient with the drawers, and I did lock rabbets on the drawers because I didn't need to prove to myself anymore that I could do dovetails, so I just want to get this done after a while. The walnut, interestingly, I found at a sale that was north of the river here, and it was in a metal shed behind this house, and it was the roof had leaked and pretty much collapsed in this metal, lawnmower shed basically, and this wood was just covered with mud and sticks and leaves, and so I pulled it out, and actually I picked up a wire brush that was there and scraped it a little bit and said, this is walnut, I need this, and they were pretty much just throwing it at people just to get rid of it. So I'm sure I paid more for the hardware than I did for all the lumber for this, and this is one of I brought the wood down here to thickness some of the wider pieces because a couple pieces were wider than my 12-inch planer at home, and then when I saw this amazing grain here on the front, I decided, okay, that's going to be the front, and then so the whole time I was working, I was like, okay, you cannot screw this up because there's no other wood left. If you mess this up, you might end up throwing it in the fire. So I spent probably off and on about 18 months on it. I had other projects that came in the interim. Like I said, I was moving more and more towards hand tools, and I now have a chest underneath my workbench, and it was just constantly a hassle to get in it. There was always a board in the way or the vise was in the way, so I built this to set on a cart that'll be by my workbench or by my assembly table, and it's my most commonly used planes and saws and chisels will go in there. I'm going to make some dividers eventually, like they show in the article here, some dividers for planes and saws here, and then some slots for chisels in the drawers, and that's that.
You did all this by hand?
I did the majority of it.
Okay,
Like I said, I thicknessed the wood with a planer, some of it down here and some at home, but the mortise and tenons across here and the dovetails, I did those by hand. The grooves and the tenons in the door were by saws and chisels.
Wow!
And inlaid the lock. So I got to buy a router plane to do the mortises for the lock, and then I decided because of this little last minute decision, I was going to put a maple dowel in here to pin the tenon. Then that meant I needed to buy a dowel plate to make dowels, because just going and buying maple dowels, that'd be too easy. So.
And they're not round, and they're not the right size.
No.
They never are. Yeah.
But I have a dowel plate now, so that's what matters.
So what kind of a finish do you have on this?
It is dark paste wax. It's as simple as you can imagine. I tried a number of different things with the scrap, and everything seemed to darken it too much, more than what I had in my mind. So I just, it has about 3 coats of dark paste wax on it, and I got some fancy paracord here that's matching color to hold the lid open, and this is a bracket for my fret saw. And when I retired, my friends gave me a branding iron with a logo on it and a plane, so I branded the lid, and underneath the drawer I wrote 2023, 2024, so that somebody, when they throw it in the dumpster someday, somebody will know how old it was. So.
Questions? No questions? So you're just going to store all your I take it there's no electric tools going in here.
No,
Yeah.
I got, yeah.
You were telling me you're
bench
getting rid of
planes.
your electric tools.
No, I'm not getting rid of them.
No, okay.
No. I'm not-
Shoot, I was
That's my safe.
I was
That's
gonna
my
come over and
safety
see
net. That's my safety net. So.
okay. So what do you got planned for future projects?
The next is I'm doing a table, kind of a copy of a Stickley table in walnut again that'll sit beside our couch. So it's kind of a splayed leg table. Again, it was plans that I found in a magazine somewhere, and it's going to be doing mortise and tenons on splayed legs, which I'm sure will be a disaster the first time or two I do it. But
Well, bring it in when
gonna
you
give it a
get
try.
it done
So.
in 18 months.
yeah,
Okay. Very
So
good.
that's
No-
that.
No questions? Thank you.
We have magazines for sale over there with more projects in them.
Chris, you have the pictures? I did have some pictures for show and tell. So go. You guys may have seen we did a class in the fall on the line and berry keepsake box. So I finished this up. I actually gave this to my parents as a Christmas gift, so I don't have it to show. But I wanted to kind of show the final product. It was really a fun project to do. It's obviously it's lines and berries. You can see the lines are inlaid in inlaid stringing and cut in arcs by hand, and then the berries you cut them on plug cutter, and you basically cut a hole and put them in. It's just kind of a cool project. It actually goes a lot faster, but I think it ended up making a really beautiful object. And it's got the turned bun feet, which was fun to get back on the lathe a little bit. So I used the round. I use the round making tools once in a while as well. And it's a good learning project for me. I had not done this type of inlay before. I didn't have any issues with the joinery or any of that, but it was just a cool project. So, and then we had like 8 students that worked on these. So hopefully I will see all of them bring their projects in over the next couple of meetings. So, what's that? One more show and tell.
Where is it? Is it yours? Sorry. Okay. Here you go.
These were some projects that I've done in the last 50 years that I thought I'd share with you that I brought out here from California 7 years ago. In 1972, my wife and I got married, and I was at Long Beach State College. She got a PhD while I got a BA. PhD is putting hubby through. So she wanted, the class was, this class at Long Beach State was kind of the senior project, if you will. And at that time, 50 years ago, it was very popular to do grandfather clocks and roll-top desk. And everybody had plans, and everybody was doing the same thing. And my wife didn't want a grandfather clock. She didn't want a roll-top desk. But she had an Ethan Allen catalog. So, well, the curio cabinet's gone already. So the curio cabinet that was up there is not a grandfather clock. I went into Ethan Allen and sat on the floor and took all the dimensions off of it. Really upset some people there. But I was in a lot better shape then, and I was too big for them to take me out of there. But that was made out of pecan, or some people refer to it as hickory, but in California it was called pecan. I'll never use that again. It was very hard to work with. The bonnet top and that raised panel were done on a shaper the only time I ever saw the teacher come out of the room. There was a 7-inch panel cutter on a pin and collar method on a shaper. The whole class stopped. It sounded like a helicopter taking off, and I was sweating profusely. I got a B on it. I asked him why. He says, well, it was a little bit too, it wasn't polished enough. I said, well, have you ever worked with hickory or pecan? I liked the rustic look. He didn't like it. He didn't like me either, so. So that was done. That's probably my pride and joy, the nicest thing I've done. It's still in the house, and the girls are going to fight over it. So fast forward, after I taught school for woodshop for 10 years in adult school and 30 years in adult ed, then I went to work for Paxton Patterson, which sold to the schools. Well, I didn't have time to do any woodworking. So when I retired 10 years ago, I got into the program at Cerritos College. Some of you are familiar with Tony Fortner, who's a personal friend of mine. And I got back into doing some woodworking. So my wife doesn't like these, though. I think they're beautiful, but the finger joint was, or the dovetail was all done by hand. They kind of have the stickly look to them. Handles were done by hand. I love the handles. The table is in our entryway, and the little nightstand is next to my bed with my CPAP machine. And I have a set of twin granddaughters that we moved out here for that are 7 now. And I made them that bunk bed that you saw there. My grandfather made one, and we still have it, and I kind of beefed it up a little bit. That's all out of maple. Came out really nice. I didn't expect them to climb all over it. I thought it was for their dolls, but it's still holding up. And of course, the class here for the toys, I made a train set for the kids, which was a lot of fun. Some of you saw what I was working on the end of the year. I took some extra wood that I had. I took that box that we made in the Rough to Ready class. I had extra wood, and I made another box. And then I did a curved box with the curved class, and I used the laser engraver. I did figure out how to turn it on. Never done anything like that. And there's some of the turnings I've done over the years. But they're too big to bring in here, so not the lathe turnings, but I just thought I would share with some of you that see me doing the same boxes for all my tools. So I have done some bigger things, better things, but now I'm kind of a little bit disabled, so I'm kind of downsizing on doing stuff. So.
Thanks for doing that. Awesome. All right, Cal. Questions. I'm sorry. Anybody got any questions? Oh, we don't care. We're just waiting for Dave.
Yeah, thanks, John, for bringing that in, bringing the pictures. Thanks, everybody, for bringing the show and tell. We're going to take a break. We're going to make it a little shorter because we are running a little long, so maybe like an 8-minute break, and then David's going to be setting up for his program. So we'll see you in a few minutes.
Our presentation today will introduce you to the requirements for the safe use of our Holtz-Hair 1265 Supercut panel saw. Hi, my name is Mike Jones, and welcome to another edition of the Kansas City Woodworkers Guild's ongoing series of machine safety videos. Now, normally, our videos only cover the safety concerns of our machines. However, we're taking this opportunity to introduce you to how to use the Holtz-Hair Supercut panel saw. This saw is relatively easy and safe to use, but there are specific steps you need to master to use this saw. Remember, if you need assistance or guidance on the use of this machine or any other machine in the Kansas City Woodworkers Guild shop, you should seek out one of the on-duty foremen for assistance. To get started, first make sure the area around the saw is clear of any obstructions or obstacles that might interfere with your work. To the left and rear of the saw, you will find the power switch, which is a red rotary knob, and a compressed air supply valve, also with a red handle. Turn the power switch on and turn the air on. The air is on when you have the handle of the air valve running parallel to the supply line. If either of these steps are left out, that machine will not start. The Holtz-Hair Supercut panel saw is capable of cross-cutting or ripping stock up to 72 inches wide by 12 feet long. This saw is made for handling large 4x8 sheets of plywood. This panel saw eliminates the need to wrestle with a 4x8 sheet of plywood on our crosscut or rip table saws, and the accuracy is every bit as great. To start, determine what is the best way to optimize your rip or crosscut of your sheet goods. If you intend to rip the 8-foot length of your sheet stock, it's best to lay the sheet on its long side on the base track. You also have the ability to rip your stock on the mid-rail supports if you want to rip or crosscut narrower stock. To crosscut stock vertically, you can do so with stock up to 72 inches in size. First, ensure that the orange saw head is oriented for vertical cutting. The blade guard, which is the white portion of the saw assembly, will be vertical. You'll need to set the indexing bar into the stop that is marked at the top of the machine. This positions the saw to cut your vertical cut. Next, set the depth of your cut according to the thickness of your sheet stock. The scale on the side of the adjusting bar has a white scale that allows you to easily set that depth of cut. This also prevents the saw from cutting into the backing rack. Next, set the stop block to the width you intend to cut. Again, there is an easily accessible scale to set the width of your cut and position your stop block. By pulling down on the stop block at the appropriate width, this will lock your stop at your desired width. Pull your sheet stock to the left and set it against this stop block. Next, you will set the cut depth pressure wheel, which also has a scale showing the material thickness that you are cutting. This is adjusted by using the clamp lever at the end of the cut depth pressure wheel. By setting this correctly, this prevents you from cutting too deep and into the backing rack. The two black handles attached to the saw head should be disengaged by pulling out and pushing the saw head to the top of your stock in a position to start your cut. At this point, the white spring-loaded blade guard should only overlap the top of your stock by roughly 1 inch. Turn the saw on. That's the green button on the right. You engage the saw carriage by using the two black carriage handles and push in and pull down once you have the pressure wheel touching the face of your stock. Now, pull down on the black handles, moving the carriage all the way down to complete your cut. When the cut is complete, release the pressure on the black handle so that the saw blade retracts away from the material and then turn the saw off. Return the saw head to your start position at the top of the sheet. Wait for the saw blade to stop rotating and then remove your cut off material. If you have multiple cuts to make at that first dimension, move your stock to the previously set stop and repeat the steps that we just went through. If you have material you want to rip, place your sheet stock on the base track or fold down the mid-backing supports to raise your material to a more comfortable height. When ripping stock on the Holtz-Hair Supercut panel saw, the rip cut goes from left to right. So you need to set your stop to the right side of your material. This will ensure that the material is held in place while you perform your rip cut. To orient the saw head for rip cutting, you will need to rotate the saw head. This is done by rotating the saw head counterclockwise to the horizontal position. secure the locking lever back into that locked position by rotating it to the right. This is the lever with the black knob located under the saw. At this point, you'll need to make sure that the indexing bar is disengaged by lifting the bar on the right side of the saw head. At that top rail, you see the arrows indicating the détentes for that indexing bar. That bar will only lock down at those locations marked by an arrow. This indexing bar has to be released to do a horizontal rip cut. You will need to position the saw head at the proper point to make your rip cut. Again, using the vertical orange scale on the machine to set the width of your rip cut. Make sure that the 3-inch locking knob is turned to the right to lock the saw in place. This also engages the pneumatically controlled backing rack, and it will position itself so that the saw blade does not cut into the backing rack. What that does is that puts the blade in between the back rails and locks the saw in vertically. Turn the saw on with the green button on the right. Using the 2 black handles on the saw carriage, push in and engage the blade into your stock and push the assembly to the right. As you make your cut, be aware when you have cut approximately halfway into your total length of cut, insert a shim or a wedge in the already completed kerf. This helps support your material so that you can complete your rip cut and not pinch the blade and possibly damage your stock. Disengage the saw carriage and turn off the power with the red button. Return the saw carriage to the start position at the left side of the sheet. When the saw blade has stopped rotating, remove your cutoff piece. This is Mike Jones for the Kansas City Woodworkers Guild. Thank you for watching.
If you're still up chatting, try to work your way through the seats.
Attention.
Can you check those for me? Thank you. All right, Dave, you're up. All right, I appreciate it. Thank you, Calvin. All right. Ooh. Oh, cool. I need those. Thank you. All right, good evening, everyone. How's everyone doing tonight? Good, good to hear. Good. Still lively. All right. So tonight what we're going to be doing is we're going to do a thing on marquetry. Now, marquetry is when you take thin veneers and you do artwork out of it, and you can put it on a door panel or a table and other things of that sort. Marquetry is very thin. The veneer is only 42nd of an inch thick. Okay? It breaks easy. So why would you want to use something like this? Well, the reason why you do is because some of these veneers, they have a lot of nice figure to them. And when they make veneers that have high figure to them, like this birch, you can put them together and make book matches. You can put them on like large doors, you know, like kitchen doors, things of that sort. So you don't waste a lot of materials. Now this shaker clock, the program is on Marquetry for a shaker clock. I took a class at Mark Adams School of Woodworking in August, and I built this cabinet all out of veneers, fiddleback maple. And it was a 6-day class. So whenever we take a class from our guild members here and things of that sort, we always want to try to practice it, right? So make sure we learn how to do it, and we can repeat ourselves and do it quicker and faster and get that down and maybe teach someone else. Well, that's what this is going to be. It's going to be all veneer. With that said, I went ahead and started veneering some sapelli. So this clock is going to be made out of sapelli. Now this shaker clock right here is my mock-up, my story stick. So when I make this, one thing I got to do is measure the pieces and the parts. The joinery is all there. Don't have to worry about it. Now as you notice on the end grain, it's not finished. But all the sides and the top are veneered. When I took that class at Mark Adams School of Woodworking, we did the bottom shelf and the top shelf of fiddleback maple. And it really intrigued me of how, when you veneer something, it looks like an actual solid piece of wood. Now, these aren't sanded. You don't want to sand yet because they're going to get dinged up, messed around, people's hands on them. So when you do your final sanding, they'll be a lot nice, smoother, and polished. Does anyone have any questions on that? No? All right. Now, for the top and bottom of that clock, I took MDF and I took 3/4 inch sapelli, and I wrapped it around here in a miter. So when I route this, and I also put dowels in it to hold it together. When I route this on the bottom, what you'll see is solid wood, and you'll see the sapelli at the same time. So you won't be seeing the MDF. If you did it out of MDF without edging, you're going to have something like this. Now this design here is a Paul Search design, but you put it on MDF and you route it, what do you see? MDF. So you got to figure out ways how to cover up your project. Stiles and rails are going to be the same thing. These larger boards down here, these boards here for stiles and rails. I'm not going to do them out of MDF, it's out of solid wood. Because when you glue those stiles and rails together, I don't know how strong that MDF will be. But I'll still have that nice figure. And these are the stiles and rails on the door. Stiles go up and down, rails go horizontally. So hopefully it'll all be made out of veneers. Now for the packet, I have a picture up here on the wall so you guys can see it a little bit more. And that's what's going to go on the door. In that class, we learned how to do veneer work or artwork, marquetry or parquetry, and you put it on the front door, and I'm going to continue that artwork up to the sides. And I'm going to have the artwork continue on this side too. But for tonight's purpose, I'm just doing the front door panel. How do you come up with a design? Well, I came up with several flower designs, like this. I don't know, Chris, is that a good spot for it? I don't know if you can see that or not. And then I have, where'd those other pieces go? Then I have another drawing of these flowers separately. I just add them on and I move them around for proper composition. So I came up with this pattern. Now, if you remember, if you saw the photo, we're doing a stack cutting technique. So when you get done, instead of having just one piece like that, if you saw the email that was sent out, it showed this bird, right? Did everyone see that on the email blast? Well, what we did is when we made this, is I stacked all these other veneers inside too. So it made 3 panels. So it's a way of making more panels with one cutting. You can even go as far as, do I have it here? Yeah, I got it here. You can either go as far as 8 panels. I have 4 dark and 4 light. I cut them all in one shot. So now I have enough for 8 doors. So it's a great way to mass produce something, and you can make it for many people, your families and things of that sort. Now here's a question for you. To sand shade or not to sand shade? Does everyone know what sand shading is? No? All right, let me show you. Here is sand shading. Yes, sir? I stacked, and that's what I'm going to show you tonight. Yeah, I'm going to show you that tonight. Here's sand shading right here. I'm going to pass these around. Okay? Actually, I'm going to pass these 2 around. This one here is unsand shaded. And this one's been sand shaded. So I got like 4 of these panels done and completed. So it's all done with one cutting. Okay? I know I'm throwing a lot of information out at you, but you don't have to sand shade. But when you do sand shade, it really brings out, you know, your picture you're doing. It's just like a value tones. Okay? You can't hurt these. They're made out of wood. If they get damaged, we know how to repair them, right? Yeah? Okay. Now, even though that's sand shaded, these two are unsand shaded. Right? It looks very nice without sand shading. So you don't have to sand shade your veneer or your marquetry. If you do scroll saw work, and if you really look at the magazines, all those projects in like Scroll Saw Work magazine, you can do marquetry out of that. And then on the back of it, I went ahead and put another emblem, so when it's a door, you get to see some artwork on the inside. And the only thing that is, it's all right. The only thing that is a quarter piece. I opened up like a 4-way book match. And I'll talk about 4-way book matches at another time, but that was just one cutting that did that. So it's a little more, yeah. So, any questions? Okay. I'll answer them for you too. All right. So the next step is after you do your drawing, this is in reverse. And I'll explain more about that later. Okay? Let me clear this off on the bench. Now at home I got it kind of set up the same way. The tools that are here, the mat. This is always on my workbench, these items right here. Doesn't matter what I'm building or what I'm doing, they're always there. Had them that way for about 10 years now. It works. Let's get this out of the way. Got that. Got this. All right, so the first thing you need to do is you need to take your veneer and you need to put gum tape on it. Where'd that cherry piece go? Here it is. Where's that board? Right, here we go. So what I do with the gum tape, and before I do that, I'm going to pass this little border around right here. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to put this white gum tape, it's a paper, on the back of the veneer. The reason for that is this is the blade that is cutting this project. And with this small puzzle blade, it's from Flying Dutchman, you can do tight turns and curves with that blade. But you have to have that gum tape. It's already sticky, right? Remember that piece of veneer I broke in my hand? Well, this will help protect it from breaking and you can make those sharp turns. So check it out. If you break the piece of veneer, don't worry about it. There's ways to fix it. All right. So what I do is I take MDF, these 1/8 inch sheets, all right. Take my gum tape, run it through the water, make sure there's plenty of water there. Slime it, one shot, lay it on, hit it with my brush. And I'll do this to about 10 pieces, whatever my project is. Doesn't take long. If you don't have this, you can use a sponge and like a large lid, and works the same. You don't have to have a tape dispenser, but you can put it over a sponge. I can show you that later on if you want to see it. Yeah?
Explain the purpose of the brush.
Oh, the brush massages that in there. Okay, so it has really good contact onto the veneer. You can also use a roller, one of these bad boys. So I learned from different instructors, like Paul Search, he likes to use that brush. Mark likes to use the roller. So when you take a class with somebody, learn how they do it, learn what they teach you, and then you develop your own style. But this works really well too. This roller, it weighs, I don't know, about 2 pounds. I need these back, by the way. All right, so what I'll do is then I'll do more pieces of veneer, right? Whichever way works best, all right? Then I'll put another piece of MDF on here and do it a repeat. I'll do more colors and more pieces of veneer until I have about 8 or 9 of them. Then I got brave this last week. I put them in my veneer press and even got them flatter. Okay? You can put them underneath your mat. That works, but if you got 20 pieces, it's not going to hold in your mat. But it makes a nice stack. You can clamp them with big clamps. You don't need a veneer press. Or you can just put some weight on top of it to keep them flat. I need this to dry before I start cutting. So luckily, I already have a packet set up for you. All right, so next step. So first step was drawing. Second step is your veneer selection. Third step is putting gum tape on it. Marquetry is not hard. There's just a lot of steps to it. Okay? Questions? Huh? All right. Yes, sir.
You put a layer of gum tape on every single layer of veneer?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yep. So what you have here, Chris, if you want to look down on here, I already started the process of putting a packet together, so it won't take us as long. Take this piece here, take this piece here. All right. So the reason for the yellow tape was for me to what I was going to demo tonight, so I wouldn't forget. So what I've done with the pattern is I put it on the back of like notebook card paper, and you know the calendars at the end of the year, that cardboard, they work perfect. So if you know anybody who has the end of the year calendars, nab them. So they work great. So I put the drawing on there, and I line up the veneer where the pieces are going to go. It's just hinged with tape. So right now I got a piece of fiddleback maple in here, burled walnut, holly, dark green veneer, this magenta color here, right, and some green. All right, so when you're putting your tape down, you want to be careful how much tape you put on, because if you scroll saw them, you have to peel the tape off after you cut the pieces, and it's no fun. So I line this up. So what I've been doing is after I drill, what I've done is I drilled a hole. So let's see, I'm making sure I got enough clearance here. So I'm going to drill a hole with this dental probe. Now a dental probe is not like a drill bit. If I used a drill bit and I went through the wood, it'll actually make a hole in the wood. But if I use this, it separates the fibers. So later on, when I start gluing up, I can close those fibers with my tongs, so in the picture, you're not going to see where I drilled the hole. Okay? So with that done, I grab my next tool. Now I want to see if this piece of veneer is lined up, which it is. So I take this here and I poke it down like this, goes right to the edge, it's in there. I got on the right piece. Up here for the green, same thing, I can bring this down and see if I got it lined up. If I have it lined up, then I put the tape down. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Neil. All right. Green. I already drilled holes earlier. So check that one out, make sure it didn't move. Another thing, once you make your packet, don't throw it on your workbench or something like that, because sometimes those pieces will shift. And it happens. So you only do that once or twice. Now what I'm going to do, and I like all those, so let me show you the packet again this way, because you can't really see it, can you? All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and throw an extra piece of holly in there. Okay. And with that holly, I'm lining it up with the flowers here. These flowers, 3 flowers, and the edges. And if I get it right in the pattern enough, I can have a holly background. So that'll be my 4th. This will be my 4th piece right here, Babinga. So I'm going to put a piece of Babinga in there. So all those extra pieces I can interchange. Just like that bird, the bird ones I was showing you. This is all one cutting, right? And it was stack cut the same. Blues were in there, so this blue here, the flower, is now the blue bird, right? This magenta, now I have a red bird. So that's what I'm going to do with this panel as well. So there'll be more than one. Questions?
The magenta and so forth, is that type of wood?
Yeah, that's just poplar that I cook.
Could you guys either use the microphone or repeat the questions,
I'll
please?
repeat the question. The question was the magenta, what type of wood it was. It was poplar, and I cooked that myself. I cook it like in a pot, like a pressure pot, and I only cook it for like 12 to 14. Never when I go to bed. It's always early in the morning because you never leave equipment running overnight. And I'll cook it for a period of time, and I'll turn it off, and I'll let it sit. Okay, and the darker colors take about 8 to 12 hours. Lighter colors take about 12 to 14 hours. Okay, so yeah, but you can buy them. They cost about $9 a sheet. So I experiment with that. So I make my own green, my dyed green veneers, my lighter green colors, because a lot of ones you buy are dark, pretty dark. All right, so the next step is that little blue red sponge at. Here it is. This is a very good magazine. They have a double bevel marquetry technique in it for the spring 2025 catalog, and it's called Scroll Saw Woodworking. It's a good publication, so if you get a chance, if you see one around, pick one up. Safety glasses. Had them earlier. Oh, thank you, Calvin. Excuse me. So next, I'll be using this nail gun, so you gotta have your safety glasses on. So, Steve, what's up? Okay. So, no, seriously, this is a pin nailer. It's a 23 gauge, and the nails are really, really thin. But what you have to do with this is you got to make sure that you don't nail it to the workbench. You do that once or twice, but it comes up pretty easy. Okay? So what I have here is like a height gauge. Okay? I just threw it together. No big deal. It's just something to hold my gun in. So it's above the workpiece. Now I'm going to put these 23 gauge nails in so I can secure all those pieces of veneer so they don't move while I cut. So I'll put one up here. And I want to keep it far enough away so when I bend it, it doesn't bend over into the cartoon. Because if you cut it, you just got to change that blade out again because it dulls it really quick. Now remember, when I put those pieces of veneer in, I have a flower grain going, the petals going this way and petals going that way, like an X. So I put one sheet going this way, I put the other sheet going that way. So all the flowers will have proper grain direction. Put one up here, one down there, one over here, one right here, one up here. Any questions? No? Yes, sir.
What exactly is determining where you're putting the nails again?
The only determining where I'm putting all the nails was all those pieces of veneer. Like I have the magenta. The question was where do I put the nails at? I know I have magenta around this flower, so I got a nail here and here to hold that piece in. I have green down here, so I have a nail here and here to hold the piece. I just want to make sure I keep it away from the cartoon. Okay?
Dave,
yes, sir.
The holes are small enough that they not visible in the final product.
Correct.
Okay.
Especially when you have like burl, like burled walnut or burled maple, you can't see the holes. Now on the holly, you're going to have to close them up with your pair of tongs. Now what you do, I'm going to go this direction. And when I flip it over, I want to go the same direction. The reason being is if I go one direction one way and one direction the other way, bend the nails, that veneer can move. But they're all being clinched going one direction. Not one direction like the band, but well, I guess it is, isn't it? One direction. All right. Greatest hits. All right. Yes, sir. 23 gauge. Huh? 1.5, 1.25. That was a good question. Yeah, it depends what size nails you have. So what I'm doing right now is I got my little anvil, to-go anvil, piece of metal. I used to be able to knock these down on the floor, but standing back up takes a little longer, so we got to keep the program going, right? So now I come to this side. Now these here, I want to make sure that they're really clinched, because if you don't, they're going to hook up on the side of your scroll saw. How many people use a scroll saw? Raise your hands. All right. Hopefully we'll be able to see some marquetry projects someday. Now we've had classes here on it. We've done that flower right there I passed around. We also did an iris, so you can come up here and check those out later. Missed one. All right, done. So like I said, this isn't hard. There's just a lot of steps. Anyone taking notes? All right. I guess you can go back to the YouTube channel and watch it over again. With veneering and veneer work, you can do a lot of things. We had Joe Altgen here, that was here in August. And if you want to see his work again, check the YouTube video out. He does marquetry and veneer work like bars and cabinets and artwork on it. So he's at a really high level. He's also the one who helped donate the Martin saw here to our guild series. So hopefully he'll come back again. All right, so we got that done. So what we need to do next is we need to drill a hole for our scroll saw blade. So we got to find a spot that's not going to be really recognized. If I put it right here up top, I'll probably see it because when we read left to right. But this is reverse, so I'm going to put it on the bottom left somewhere so you won't see it as well. I'll still close it up, but I need to make sure that the hole's big enough. I'm going to put it right on the corner of a joint. Turn that down a little bit. And I got my hole on the bottom. Then you come to the scroll saw. And usually, I already warmed up today before coming here. I will do a practice cut. And this is my practice sample. You know, people who do running and jogging and things like that before they do a competition, they warm up, they stretch. Same thing with marquetry. Warm up. Don't worry about if you mess up or, you'll mess up. But if you do, you don't, but you got it down, then you can do your big project. So I did this earlier when I first got here. So I'm good to go. So now we have, 7 78 pieces to cut. So we'll be done in about 10 minutes. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm only going to cut out 3 or 4 of these, or at least 2, to show you the process. Then we're going to move on to the next step. Actually, the ones that I got here, we're going to sand shade. That'll be fun. So pretend like you cut all these pieces out. And when you cut them out, I usually put them on a load-off tray. But since we're, I'll put them on here. Now what I have here is a number grid. On your pattern that you have, you want to make sure that you number it. All right? Number each piece. 1, 2, 3, all the way to 68 or 70. Don't forget about the negative spaces, because you have negative spaces here, 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 here. I put A, B, C, and D on those, because I forget to mark them. And then when I scroll saw, I got to figure it out. Then what I do is I put black dots on it where I'm going to sand shade. So when I go to my sand shading, I already have my diagram, what edge I'm going to sand shade. So after I cut it, I'll put it on this number board. So this is number 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 12 would be here. 5 goes to 0, goes here. 39, 3, 9. So I can find my pieces a lot easier. Okay? Now usually at home, it's called a kill switch. And what the kill switch does is you have your foot on it, and when you're done, you just lift your foot up and the machine stops. I made this little bar here just to make sure they're tight so it doesn't come apart. We have had woodworkers who were scroll sawing in the past at home, and some of them had a stroke, right? And they're working on the scroll saw. And when they had a stroke, they fell over holding on to the saw. That's not good, especially with those thicker blades. But he had that kill switch, a dead man switch, so when he fell, the saw stopped running. It's also good to use on a drill press too. If you're doing a lot of drilling, just put your foot down instead of turning on and off the switch. So. Doesn't seem tight enough. All right, we're good. So what we're doing right now is we're cutting through about 8 to 10 pieces of veneer. So this is the pedal. And George does an excellent job on teaching scroll saw classes. So if you want to learn how to pivot on a scroll saw, when George teaches that class, try to sign up for it, George Rexroad. So I come to this point, and what I'm doing is I'm pushing against the side of the blade this way before I turn around. So I push this way. Now I'm talking, thinking, trying to do it at the same time. Then you pivot. Now if you go offline, don't worry about it. Just keep pushing forward. Don't back up and try to cut the line because you'll see a jagged edge. So here's our first stack. We have some green, some babinga, the magenta, the broiled walnut, and the fiddleback or maple. Uh-oh. It's already numbered on that cartoon. So I'll cut another piece out and I'll pass them around for you guys. Just don't lose them. We're going to use it for this packet. All right, so our next one, I'll cut one more. Now this next one I'm going to cut is I'm going to cut in some lines for the veins of the leaf. And this is actually fun. I've told you before, it's relaxing, all right? You know, you had a long day at work, go down your shop and do some woodworking, and I mean, it's an hour and a half, 2 hours later. It's like, man, time flies. But no, I do go upstairs. My wife and I will spend some time together, so I don't stay down there too long. About an hour and a half. So we always make sure we do something together. So what I'm doing is I'm having a little kerf in here. So when I glue this up, you'll be able to see those lines. After the program, come up and take a look at this, the ones I have framed, and you'll see these saw kerf lines. That's how thin those cuts are, is for the thickness of this blade. Now some people will use a thicker blade, and the reason why they use a thicker blade is because it's tighter, or it's looser. We got that real fine blade, so it's a lot. If it rains a lot, those wood fibers can swell up, and it'll be hard to fit into the background. But I'm not too worried about it. I like them tight like this. So I'm going to pass these around, and that's what we just cut. And you notice the numbers on there and the dots is on there is where we're going to sand shade.
Dave?
Yes, sir.
You mentioned if it rains a lot, it swells up. If it's
Correct.
been
Humidity in the
raining
air.
while before you start cutting, does that affect it?
Oh, the wood beforehand? No, I don't know. I really haven't had that issue, but I know some people who've done it that it just swells up. It's in our packet and it's pressed down. I haven't come across that yet. Yes, sir.
Dave, do you have issues with breaking the blades, or are you just skilled enough to not put the pressure you need?
Usually a blade will break is when you don't have it tight enough in the saw. So it's going back and forth, it comes loose. That's one way of breaking. I cut about 8 to 10 pieces, then I change the blade, because you're cutting through 10 to 15 pieces of veneer, and when you have to start forcing it, you don't get a nice cut. You put a new blade in there, it just cuts really sweet. So I go to about 10 pieces, and I switch them out. And those are from Superior Puzzle Blades, and they're Flying Dutchman. So, Chris, I'll give you a list of the tools I used if you want to put on the more info, so you can refer back to that. Did that answer your question, Calvin?
Yeah, I just know that I'm a little aggressive, so I always break the blades.
Yeah, buy the gross, you'll be all right. All right. Yes, sir.
Yo, are those 6/0?
Don't know. They're small. They're called Superior Puzzle Blade. Usually people use a 3, but I don't know what these are. But that sheet of paper that I got you can take a look at that blade again on that sheet of paper.
Okay, I may be jumping ahead. When you've got all these cuts, you're going to have a gap in your picture between, let's say, red.
That's why I use that real fine blade. When you use a 2/0, it's a lot thicker.
Okay, so it's not a bevel.
Nope, it's not a bevel.
up and
I like making 8. I like production. I do the Marquetry double bevel technique Mark Adam teaches. I do that about every 2 years, just so I don't get rusty at it. And what I've been doing now is I'll do 5 leaves in one shot. I'll draw 5 leaves out on a piece of veneer, and I'll cut right down the middle. Then I'll put those 2 pieces together, and then I'll cut all 5 out. So I'm always trying to think, how can you do it faster and quicker without taking away quality? So yeah, I do that. And it's fun. You do piece by piece. You put it in the background. You move on to the next step. You just got to figure out which goes in first, the back. You always work from the back to the front, because you'll cut it out, the front piece. So yeah, it's a different technique. So I encourage you to take it if you have a chance. All right. So now what we're going to do is, I need that little thing of water. I have a little dish with a sponge on it somewhere. All right, we'll find it later. This will work here. So to sand shade, I usually have a little sponge. Right after I sand shade it, I'll put it on the sponge to reconstitute it. That is, when you put veneer in hot sand, it's going to want to curl. And that's no fun. It is fun, but you know. All right, so let me take a piece of this. No, this is fine. I'll be all right, but I appreciate it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to test my veneer first. This here is beech. So when you put it in here, I'm going to count to 5 seconds. I put it at the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See it already bending? All right. So that's what I want to do is get my shadowing. So when I look at these pieces, well, I don't want to do burled walnut because it's already dark, right? And I got my maple. I got babinga. I got holly. Got my magenta. Nope, I got my green. I'm not doing green flowers. I got another piece of holly. And I got magenta and magenta. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces. I just do all 6. Sometimes when people do it, they'll just do what they need. If I goof up or make a mistake, I don't have to go back. Plus, I'll have enough for 3 or 4 panels. So production mode. Let's grab this over here. Oh, here it is. You found it. Good job. Thank you. That's awesome. So what I have here is a sponge with water in it. I'm going to grab one of these blocks. And this block. And like talked about earlier about the gum tape, you can take a sponge with water in it and just take this and do the same thing. So you don't need expensive tools to do this. So, and it's sticky already. Let a cat step on it, see what happens. All right, anyway, so let's get, now it's all, my wife's watching this, is going, oh no. All right, so here's my cartoon. I can always look at my picture. I always have my picture in front of me too, so I can keep looking at it. So I know I'm doing the concave here. So I'll put this magenta in. Now this is hot. So the further I go down, the hotter it is. Now, with a little practice, go down a little bit more. Say I want a little bit more shade to it. Now that beech, like, ooh, look at that maple, how fast it went. But if I pull up the holly, this deeper one, it's about the same. What about the magenta? Nope, needs to go in there longer. So you're doing a dance with these pieces of veneer. Don't get sidetracked. Don't, just watch what you're doing. So you don't burn them too much. All right, that babinga's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. All right. Now on my cartoon, I have this small concave. So if you look at number 18, and it's right here, see where it's dark right here? But that'll be light. That petal will be light. That's dark. This is dark, and that's light. You'll probably see it better up there. So any questions on this? On the sand shading? And it's fun. Now, I don't use a gas burner.
Question, David.
Yes, sir.
When you, this may be jumping ahead as well.
No, that's all right. Go for it.
When you assemble it all back and you glue it down, you eventually are going to circle it all with like a scraper or something. Does that sand shading go all the way through?
No, that tape is being burned. So that where the tape is going to be my fancy face. That's what I'm going to look. That's what I'm going to see. So
my question is, when you surface it, does the shading come off?
Come off? Not really. No, because if you see it's burned on both sides, yeah, you're fine. Now, if you cooked it at a lighter temperature and you barely got it burned, then yeah, that will happen. But if it's hot, it's going in there and searing it. Okay. So, oh, there goes that one. All right, 18. Thank you, good eye. Nice tongs, yes?
What type of sand are you using there?
The type of sand I'm using is reptile sand. It's already clean, it's fine. I like using the finer sand than the coarser sand, because if you have a big, thick piece of coarse sand on your veneer and it's still stuck on your project and you sand, that's going to be a big scratch mark. But at the same time, when I'm doing this here, now what I'm going to do is reconstitute it. So the first thing I do is I mark number 18 on my board. Okay? And then, see how it's curled up? It's not flat. These aren't flat anymore. They're concaved. So what I do is I reconstitute them until it gets soft. See how curled that is? I don't know if you can see it or not. All right. Got some water, get some more water in my dish. There we go. Now it's getting palatable, right? Now I can bend it and move it. It's not breaking. Okay? So I put that right there on the 18. There's the babinga. That's the dyed wood. That's the quilted maple. This is holly. Holly again, or this is the magenta. I want to make sure it gets pliable. And then I do the next piece. All right, so 19. I write 19 down. Then when I get done, I put this piece on top. And back here, I have like 16 of them. So I got 2 stacks of 8, and the weight of those will keep this flat. Now I'll just wait for those to dry, usually about an hour or 2. Because if you don't, because I got in a hurry the other day, they were still kind of damp, and when I put them in the background, they started to curl. Just give them a couple hours to dry underneath here, no big deal. So what's the next step? Exactly. So what we're going to do, you're hired. All right, next thing we're going to do is, before we assemble it though, here's one of the other packets that I cut out. And those are all the pieces that were in there. Okay, so the best way to assemble that is you're always working on the glue surface. Where the tape is, I don't know if you can see that white gum tape, that's the show face. So I'm going to put the show face up for now while I put this tape down. What I like to do is I like to take these weights, put one right here. I use them for other things too, John. And I put it right here because if you notice this piece of the veneer, it's moved up. And when you put that tape down, if it wiggles, they're not going to fit right. So I like to take this piece right here and measure my tape about, okay, it's about right here. All right. I'll grab another one here, nice and flat. I want to get a good starter piece. So this is my starter piece. This is like your bravery test, right? The Bob Ross thing. One shot. When he puts that big old tree in the middle of his painting. There we go. Good. Now, if you put it on the wrong side, you'll figure it out when you go to glue it up. And that only happens about once, but it's okay. It's no big deal. You just it's all right. Yes, sir. That's how you learn. You learn from it, and it's fun. Not that part, but the process of doing marquetry. So now what you have is your background of where all those flowers are going to go. Okay. So I'd find number 18 on here, which is right there, and I put that piece in. So the next step, as we got there, is here. And I've already did some about 90% of the way through, so we won't be here all night. So this one here is basically the burled walnut and holly. And this one here is quilted maple, magenta, and I got the dark blue in there. Okay. Hopefully the ones I passed out around aren't in that number piece to put in there. We're going to find out. Put my brush back, my hammer out of the way. the veneer out of the way. All right. So generally at homes, this is how I have my station at home set up. I would have all my marquetry. I have this here. I have all these pieces of wood like this up here. And I need number 35 and 32. So I look for 35 and 32 over here. There's 30, 31, 36. $32, there you are. 34. All right, where's 35? All right, we'll just work with these. Up. 42, 40. Okay. So, I got 40 over here. 40 right here. I'm going to look on my screen here, on my thing in front of me. 40 is right there. What's about 41? So 41, I'm doing this backwards, sorry guys. So I grab 41, and I put it right here. I put it lightly in there. The next one's 44, so I find 44, that's 40. This is 37. So 37 is... Now see, if I was at home, it'd go a lot easier. Because I'll be honest with you, it only took me 30 minutes to put all these pieces in on both panels. Because I had everything lined up, already numbered, so I'm kind of backwards, going back and forth. But that's how you put these pieces in. Let's see, here's this one here, so I'll put this one over here on the walnut side. Questions? How are we on time? 9:11?
So, David.
Yes, sir.
Just to clarify, that you put the tape on the outside,
Of
and
the-
you're assembling it basically upside down?
Correct, on the glue side,
Right.
on the glue surface.
Because ultimately you're going to glue that surface you're looking at.
Right, so this clock right here is in reverse, right? So after I glue it, I want this actually to go this way. So these flowers will be turned. So when I scrape this off, it'll be the reverse image.
You glue it down, the tape's on it, then you eventually scrape that all off.
Yeah, exactly. And which one's here? I want to do some more pieces for you. And that's basically, I think, about it. So we talked about the veneer clock, the drawing in reverse. We showed how to gum tape. We also, how to put the pieces in the packet, how to nail the packet, how to cut the pieces, how to tape the back of the packet, that was that holly piece, and you saw that blue, how to sand shade and reconstitute, and how to put the pieces in the background. So that's just the most majority of how you do veneer work. Like I said, we did this in class. Some of the students built these. We had a class a couple of years ago. So we're going to have a marquetry class here in June. What the picture will be, I'm not sure yet, but that's what it's going to be. Any questions?
All right, I'm asking a lot of questions.
No,
sorry,
that's good. No, please do.
So do you spend any time flattening your veneers before you start working with them?
Sometimes the broiled walnuts I will. Again, since I put that wet gum tape, that's a good question. I already put that white paper on there, that wet paper on, and I just put this in the press to flatten it down and to dry it out. I only put it in the press for like 30 minutes. And then I take it out and just let it air dry, and I put some weights, workout weights, you work with. They're really good to keep that flat. And that's the veneer right there. It was a little bit bumpy, but that wetness in the veneer press. But yeah, I have flattened my veneers when the burls are usually really wavy. And I bought this stuff from Vacuum Clamp. It's up in New York, and that's where I get my tape at. There's 3 types of tape: vegetable base, fish base, and high glue base. Vegetable base is what we're using here. I'm really liking it because when you wet it down, it'll peel off. The fish-based kind, after about 2 or 3 days I've been in the class, and all of a sudden these little flies start flying, flying in on you. And the high glue is a really hard glue, and it smacks on there, and it's really hard to get off. You have to basically belt sand it, and that's Paul Search uses that. And it's just a different type of tape, and it's a harder tape.
Okay, my last question.
Sure.
What's your typical process of gluing that down on a panel?
The class I took here with that panel that I did at Mark Adams, we used all-purpose type bond glue, but we used the white. The reason why we use the white glue is when the glue dries, it dries clear. If you have yellow glue, it's going to dry yellow. But I also like the Gorilla Glue too.
Do you press it like in a? How do you make sure it's tight? Do you put it in a press or?
Yeah, I put it in a press. I'll put it. My vacuum press, we have one here too, has all the lines and grids in it. I'll put a piece of white tile board in there.
So you use a vacuum press?
Correct.
Okay.
And I'll put the fancy face on there on that tile board, and then for the panel, with Marquetry, I usually put a call board on top. These panels I did here in the press for this, I just rolled the glue on with the roller, had my veneer down, put it on, put it in the press, no call, no nothing. So I could just put 4 pieces in there. And we did it at the school that way, and it worked. So you put just the right amount of glue on the board, it's fine. Because sorry, Craig. So his question was, how did I get glue on the bag? At least with the white glues, I rolled on with a white roller, those foam rollers, and it was actually a good question. And I put the veneer down, then I put this on top. So my veneer is sticking out about 1/2 an inch or 3/8 of an inch on both sides over. So when I do get glue squeeze out, it's on the veneer. Correct. And I was hand sanding these, and then I have more styles and rails. I had 10 boards. It takes about 5 to 7 minutes to sand these all there. I said, let me try my trim router. Got my trim router out. Bzz, bzz, it worked out great. Got 5 of them done in 7 minutes. I was like, sweet. And then hand sanded them. So there's still ways of how to do things. So it's a learning process, and that's why we're woodworkers. We figure things out. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
What type of glue are you using to put the
This one here, I'm using the all-purpose type bond glue, what we used in class at Mark Adams. So I liked it. It worked well.
How long does that vacuum?
I keep it in the press for 1.5 hours, and then I pull it out. Now, if you have any blue tape on it, to hold things down, you only put it in the press for 30 minutes. Then you can take it out and peel the tape off. If you leave it in there for 1.5 hours and you peel that blue tape off, it'll pull the fibers up. Actually, I have the yellow tape over here too. That yellow tape works really well, but again, only 30 minutes in the press, then you can peel that tape off and then put it back in the press again. So, yes, sir. Well, I'll just get it wet again, and then I'll peel the paper off. And then I'll start sanding with 180 grit. And I like to use my Festool. Festool sanding disc, it's a harder disc compared to like Porter Cable and DeWalt. Is it Maraka? I don't know how to put the M-I-R-K-A. I haven't used theirs yet. Mirka. But the Festool, it's a harder disc, so you're not going to sand into the softer woods and harder woods. Like that Babinga is a lot harder. Whatever takes longer to sand shade, and that maple that went really quick, you can sand through the maple, not the Babinga. But I also use 180 grit, and I also use things like this too. On these veneer things to get stuff edged up. I'll just take this and put it on my bench, and I'll just sand that veneer flush, and it works. Did that answer your question on the sanding? Okay, I went off script there. Any other questions? No? Oh, the American Marquetry Society, good job. That was actually that bird. Where'd that bird go? Who took the bird? There it is. This bird was in the contest. They have a contest of some sort, and that one year was on birds. So I went ahead and put this in the contest, and I got 3rd place. It's like, cool, 3rd place. And I showed the wife, said, hey, check this out, I got third place. I said, well, you know, I kind of goofed up here and goofed up here and goofed up there. And she looks me straight in the eye and says, well, that's probably why you got third place. And I said, you're right, you're right. So yeah, but it's fun. So the American Marker Society, I think it costs like $25 or $30 a year. You get a subscription, it's like 20 to 30 pages long. The pages are getting longer now. They have a free sample right now, the 2015 issue, if you go to the American Marquetry Society. And you get 20 to 30 pages just marquetry. None of this other stuff that's in magazines. It comes out quarterly. It's a good deal. And then they got plans you can go in there members only and get other plans people submitted, and it goes way back. And it's local, it's the United States. This one here was shellac and varnish. I'm really liking the lacquer from Sherwin-Williams, satin fine, and it's actually a nice sheen to it, and that's why I did that piece I did at Mark Adams. If you want to review that or see me talk about that, I think that one's in the September 2024 YouTube video, and Joe Altgen was in August 2024 if you want to see his veneer work for his program. So, did that answer the question? Okay. Any other questions? Well, I do appreciate it. I mean, we went over time and stuff, so thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Of course, you know we have to take the mug shot, and you put this with your grouping of cups, I'm sure.
Yes, sir.
But thank you on behalf of the Guild. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Great program.
Thank you.
Get the.
All right.
All right. Thanks again, everybody. Thanks you, David.
You're welcome. Thank you for your time.
Y'all should come up and see some of this work up here. And
there it is, 18.
Be careful driving. Please help us clean up. Please help put the chairs away. And have a great night.
A special thank you to our guest today, to the Guild's Leadership Committee, and to all of our sponsors. For more information about the Guild, upcoming classes, and events, please visit our website kcwg.org. You can also find us on social media by searching for Kansas City Woodworkers Guild. And remember to hit the subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications.